run a podcast as well called the Freelance Creative Exchange. So we also launched a podcast drama only just recently. It's actually into our third app, right? It's called Freelancers Confessions. So over there, you will hear some horrible stories, and there's some good ones as well. Of course, not just horrible. There are also some, clients from heaven as well, but a lot more clients for hell type stories.
Hey everybody, Mark Arinsberg here with the Purenow Show. This is episode number 15. My guest today is Jayce Tham. Jayce is the chief businesswoman at CreativesAtWork Pte Ltd in Singapore. Her company, CreativesAtWork, provides creative resources for all kinds of companies, ad agencies, design studios, and alike in APAC. It's great to have Jayce on the show. Here we go.
We see an increase in demand from our, whether it's existing customers or whether it's new customers. But maybe I would give a little bit of context about what we do. Then I can elaborate how the business has changed for us before COVID, during COVID, and now, hopefully soon, post-COVID. So basically, I'm from a company based in Singapore called CreativeAtWork. So we are a media agency that actually, empower our clients with supporting them in terms of content creations effort by matchmaking them to a pool of independent creative freelancers. So we provide both matchmaking services as well as project management services for our clients to help them with their content creations, capability. So in a way, we are more like a resource-based company where we actually provide training to our freelancers as well. We also produce our own content from documentaries to podcastings. So basically, begging or pioneering in a way the freelance economy in Singapore and also hopefully in Southeast Asia as well.
What would you say is most in demand from you? What kind of freelancers are people requesting these days?
So in general, I think we see in three main areas that suddenly there was an increase in the demand, right, and the request for such freelancers. One is, of course, as we all know, digital marketing, right? Because with COVID, shops are closed, people are kept at home, so the only way that they can reach out to their potential customers is actually through social media platforms. So we see an increase in the demand and the request for freelancers who are involved in the digital marketing, whether you are content writers or you are designers, right, that focuses on digital platforms. Those are actually quite high in demand. Another area that we actually have noticed is actually in terms of video productions. So as every company going on to social media marketing, right, it becomes so competitive that every one of them is trying to do something different from their competitors, right? And video is actually one of the medium that is highly being consumed, right, on social media by a lot of different consumers. So in that sense, video production is another potential area of growth. And of course, I think the last one was the web/app designers or developers, because a lot more people are going to put in more resources because now they realize they need to enhance their digital presence, right? So everyone is going into rebranding of their website. Everyone is going to look at how they actually talk about themselves on their website. So these are the three, I would say, main growth area that we see from the demand in our customer requests, right? And also one thing that I wanted to add is that the good thing about us being in Singapore, right, is that we actually deal more with multinational corporations, right, MNCs. And a lot of the project that we are handling, right, not just focuses on Singapore, because Singapore is a very small market. So in fact, actually most of the thing that we develop, right, are not just for Singapore market. It's actually for the region as well. So there's also a high demand in terms of localizations of those content, right? Whether it's in terms of translations, whether it's in terms of designing specific images, right, for the specific countries. So all the, I would say in the region, Southeast Asia, right, there's actually a huge demand for translators, whether it's English to Bahasa Indonesian or vice versa as well.
It's not always smooth because we are dealing with individuals and things happen. And freelancers are people. And of course, there is a commitment on both sides to try and ensure that it's the best outcome possible between the freelancer and the client. But life happens as a freelancer, and they're not your employees, and they're not their employees, and you're a bit at risk, a little bit. Give us some examples of maybe some situations that were not ideal. I mean, for every problem, of course, there's a solution. It could be rectified, but things happen. Can you tell us some of the challenges that you faced maybe early on as you were figuring this out, that you were able to find solutions for that remedied it and prohibited things like that from happening again down the road? And by the way, this is also a lesson for freelancers. There'll be a lot of freelancers that are watching this show that are going to be able to learn a lot from you about how to be successful as a freelancer, the do's and don'ts. So this is an educational opportunity for especially maybe young freelancers starting out who could benefit from learning some lessons from you.
We launched a new series, right? Because we run a podcast as well called the Freelance Creative Exchange. So we also launched a podcast drama only just recently. It's actually into our third app, right? It's called Freelancers Confessions. So over there, you will hear some horrible stories, and there's some good ones as well. Of course, not just horrible. There are also some, clients from heaven as well, but a lot more clients for hell type of stories. So if you're interested, please feel free to actually hear some of the stories. But even in our training program, we also always try to emphasize, right, to our freelancers is that you cannot expect that it will be a smooth sailing career. As a freelancer, you will face even more challenges compared to if you are employed, right? Because when you are employed, you are actually under a certain structure. So in a way, you are kind of protected. Probably you have a legal team that's working with you. You have a finance team. But when you are a freelancer, right, you are your own boss. Everything is on you, right? So you have to learn to protect yourself. You have to learn to identify certain red flags for yourself, right? So that you don't land yourself, in undesirable situations.
I know how critical it is that we're dealing with work that is very subjective. We're dealing with multiple personalities, which is nuts. Now, it might be to the benefit too. When I was in the business, I sent people on site. There was none of this working from home. Everybody went into a design studio or advertising agency and worked with that team of people up close and personal. I had a freelancer who had a medical condition, and because of their medical condition, it produced a body odor problem. And they were super talented, but I had to approach this freelancer and I had to let them know that this was an issue, and it was not about their work, and it was not even personal, but it was an offensive odor, and it created friction for the internal staff. Now, of course, in what we're dealing with today, you'll never have to deal with that. But human beings, sapiens, still have personalities.